Welcome into another edition of Spits and Suds. So great to have you. I'm Gavin Spittle of 105.3 The Fan, and joining me, unfortunately, after a Stars defeat is two-time Stanley Cup champion, one with your Dallas Stars, two-time NCAA champion, and he is the new star of the movie Secret of Bog Lake.
Oh, my God, you found that.
I mean, I do my research for this podcast, and anytime Craig Ludwig comes up in my notifications, I got to chirp him a little bit. Craig Ludwig, the movie star. First, Sean Shapiro of Spits and Suds comes out with the late game movie where he plays a goalie. Now, The Secret of Bog Lake. Craig Ludwig. Tell me your role. Do you have speaking parts? What's going on?
I can sum my role up really easy, and it shouldn't shock anybody. I was standing at the bar, and I said, "Hey, bartender, can I eat another one?" That's my line. So, yeah, it's my when we had the cup up in Eagle River, a buddy of mine has a place called Denoyers, a bar restaurant on one of the lakes up there, and so we took the cup out there and had a party, and it was one of those kind of things, and I believe the guy was at that party who's putting this movie together, not 100%, but got a call from my buddy one day last summer and said, "Hey, I got a friend and they're doing this movie and he'd want to know if you'd be interested." And I'm like, "What?" And so anyway, Kim's in there too. She's sitting at the bar drinking like normal. So I think we're in the perfect roles. She's talking to some other girl. I don't think she's got a line that you're going to hear, but I'll tell you what, and again, this is, I guess there's A and there's B's. Well, this is probably not either one of those. There may be a little more further down the alphabet, but it's all local. And there actually was a movie called with the same name attempting to be done back in the 70s is what I understand. And I think this was a little bit of a bring it to life kind of thing, so to speak. So I think they had the grand opening in my hometown a few days ago.
Nice. So, red carpet.
Yeah. So you understand, my hometown is about 1,200 people. In the summer, it goes up to 25, 30,000. It's big, lakes and resorty kind of thing. So there ain't no 30,000 up there right now. So I don't know. I don't know if they even had it open up the doors or just put it on an iPad outside the front of it. So I have no idea. I haven't heard anything about it. So
when the credits roll, is Craig Ludwig in the credits? And if you are, sir,
no, I'll tell you what. Here's the best part.
Yeah,
is my kids found out about it, saw the release date or release party, whatever they were calling it, and I'm not even listed in it. So they made a big deal out of that. He goes, "Yeah, your big movie role. You're not even in the thing." So I don't know how you found it, but whatever they sent me.
All right. Well, second tasty
nugget.
Nugget.
Can we talk about something that matters?
Okay. All right. Fine.
All right.
Another Craig Ludwig fact. Ryan Suter, who scored last night, 39 years, 107 days, becomes the oldest defenseman in Dallas Stars franchise history with a playoff game, besting Craig Ludwig, 38 years, 87 days in Game 2 of the 99 Stanley Cup Finals. That's 2 series in a row that Craig Ludwig has made the NHL PR.
You know what the difference is?
What's that?
We won our game.
Oh!
Sorry, Suits. And I'm just I love Suits and I'm using his sticks. So anyway, yeah. and it was almost very similar, if I can remember. I shot it. The only difference is, and their goaltender didn't have a chance on it, didn't see it. Sagi did a great job on a screen in front. And you could tell that Gorgiev had no idea where that puck was. Mine hit like 3 different players before it went in. So it was a bit of a pinball machine.
Did you know it was yours?
And I think mine was like made it like 5-2 or something like that. So I don't think it was a very important goal.
Did you know it was you?
No, I had no idea. I mean, the guys kind of started skating at me, and I'm like, "What? You scored?" I'm like, "Oh, okay." Yeah, I don't really. Not a big thing on a to-do list for me. For me,
that's pretty cool though. Scoring in a Stanley Cup final.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be different if it was an overtime goal or,
Yeah.
like Miles Wood has got, his name is trending right now. Mine wasn't.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about this, and this is why I love having you on the show.
See how he segued it out of that shit
No,
and into the good stuff?
You're a good host, sir. You're a very good host.
Yeah.
So, Hanif's on the ice. Haskinen's on the ice. Miles Wood, who is not known for his scoring. I think he had 26 points on the year. Bursts past them and makes a move on Jake Ottinger and tucks it in. Just barely, but he got it in. And from that play, Craig, can you take us through that? And I'm asking the question, in overtime, shouldn't you be a little bit more cautious as a defense? Should one of the defensemen have maybe hung back a little bit more?
Yes and yes. And all the replays that I saw, you can't see what's happening with Miro on the blue line when the puck is down by the hash marks. Okay. I catch the end of it. And I think the way that Miro plays is he's hanging around a little bit and, looking for that opportunity to be available offensively. Okay. Because, well, first off, when you say that Miles, and I played with his dad, Randy, and his dad was a speedster too, and had a different kind of a stride, bow-legged, that could really skate. Miles is not a goal scorer. He's 10, 12 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Over his career. He's a heavy, feisty, willing to fight, third line role player. But what he's known for is being able to fly. So I go back to tendencies. You have to know who you're on the ice against, whether it's the first period or it's overtime. And, and again, you're not going to play on your heels. That's not the way Dallas plays. They play on their toes. They're going north. They want to create, they want to score. But there's something that we call time and score and all this other kind of stuff. And you don't really have to worry about it when you're overtime. Everybody, on the planet knows time and score. So what happened is I see is a little bit of Miro in the picture on the top frame, and there's a little bit of hesitation. Okay. And then that's what makes me think it was probably a 50-50 puck along the wall. And, can I lend to being part of it? Can I jump into the play? Because again, we know that they play leaning forward for the most part, and they've been very successful because they play that way. So Miles, and again, we know Miro can skate with Connor McDavid, and so we know he can skate. But if you're going to be even with a guy and you're facing one direction and the speedster is facing the other direction, going at the dangerous end, you're a bit of a disadvantage. Now, I come all the way full circle in what we talked about in our last podcast. You are not going to win the Stanley Cup with only 5 defensemen playing.
I was just about to ask that.
Yeah. So, Miro's going to lead your team in. He played 29, 30 minutes again. That's where this all comes into play. The further you get down the line, only playing 5D, I don't care who you are, you're going to get tired and you're not going to have the same jump. Now, that being said, the race that's going down ice and it gets across your own blue line. So it's going into your zone. When Miro feels, you have to know, and I'm sure he knew because he starts reaching out with his stick, he's got to step on you. Now, my thing is, I'm going to take my angle. I'm going to change my route a little bit. Miro's going at Miles. Miles is slowly pulling ahead of him. I change my route and I start to go a little bit more to the middle of the net to the far post. Because as he gets down below the tops of the circles and he gets to the face-off dot area, he's either going to shoot the puck, possibly go behind the net, which obviously didn't happen and normally won't happen. Otherwise, he's going to go in front of the crease. So I'm going to try to change my angle and get to the middle of the net, to the other side of the net, in case he wants to come across the front of the crease. He wants to do that. Maybe I can lift his stick. Maybe I can disrupt the puck at that time and kind of cut him off, because your goaltender knows the angle that he's coming on. He's going to either shoot or he's going to come across the front of the net, which takes me back to a text message I was going back and forth with Billy Pye, our goalie coach, with the youth program. And this was kind of old school, but at some point, Jake has to know, I believe, and again, this is all technique, so I'm not criticizing Otter at all. But if that was Ed Belfour, if that was probably the 80s, when I know that Miro, my defenseman partner, and Miles are getting to the top of the crease area, or maybe 4 or 5 feet out, he's doesn't have a ton of options. I don't believe. Again, I'm not a goalie. Never didn't play one in the movie either. So I lay out. I lay flat out, and if I got to take him on, and then you take the bottom of the ice, and there's probably going to be a collision, but that puck doesn't get through there. Maybe that's an old style goalie. I mean, we saw Billy Smith do it all the time. We've seen Belfour. A lot of goalies used to do it. Today's day is more technique, but when you go back and you look at where Jake was on that goal, he's underneath the bar.
Yeah,
like he's deep.
Yep.
So it allowed Miles to pull that puck to the front of the net. And when he's pulling it, he's in the blue paint. So again, if Miro takes a different angle, knowing that you've got that extra second because he's going to pull it across the crease, maybe you have a play on it. But his angle was to chase him and kind of go towards that corner that he was headed at, of the rink I'm talking about, to the short side of the net. So when he cuts in front of you and you don't have a lot of gas left in the tank, what normally a Heiskanen does, and he finished on it. And again, if that was Rantanen, McKinnon, you would expect them to finish. Now, Miles, not, would it bobble a little bit? But there's nobody can get a stick or anything on the puck. Miro can't get there. And I thought if Otter, would have kind of laid out, there's a bit of a collision that happens right there. So that's just, again, it's so easy to talk about this the next morning and be able to watch it over and over again.
Yeah. Sean, former goaltender and still plays in beer leagues and everything, he pointed that out too. And, not to criticize, Jake Ottinger is an NHL caliber and a very good goalie and everything, but he felt as though he should have been more aggressive on that as well. And you bring up the time on ice, Craig. For a comparison, for Stars fans listening, Miro, 30 minutes on the ice, Miles Wood, 13. So human nature, Miles Wood's got some pretty fresh legs in overtime. So,
well, and the other thing about this Colorado team, this is not the Vegas team. Vegas isn't known for their speedsters, right? They're a very well structured team, and they weren't, there were guys on that team that weren't healthy. Let's face it. They all didn't play. Some guys came back, only played, X amount of games, all this other kind of stuff. But they don't have the speed and the size, and some of them do, but Rantanen can skate, McKinnon can skate, McCarr can skate. Obviously, Miles Wood can skate. So this is going to be this is a track meet with some of these guys. And when one of your big horses, your biggest horse or your thoroughbred is running on fumes at time, different fumes than we would be running on, because, he's obviously a gifted and elite skater, it's eventually going to take a toll on you at some point in the game. And you got to keep trotting them out there, because they're leading Trump. They want their top guys out there as much as they possibly can. And you're trying to get, whether it's Tanev and Essa or Miro out there, whatever it may be, and Thomas, that's part of doing business when you're playing with 5D.
Yeah.
And again, it's not good business, but they're in the spot that they're in. And so that has, and again, we know that it's been a topic of conversation. They're not fools in there. They know that, if you want to get to the end of the rainbow, you're going to need another set of legs that you can rely on. And, and again, I don't think it really helps, Lundqvist at all either.
No,
because again, when you're playing 4 minutes a game, you think, and you know what his shift lengths are? 27 seconds.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
27. That tells me, okay, I'm going to go out here and then I'm going to get off the ice.
Mostly
from a mindset.
Too.
I don't want to make a mistake, because if I make a mistake, I might not get another shift tonight.
Yeah.
That's a hard way to have to play the game.
Not to mention Craig absent in the third period too. Basically absent all game, but I don't understand. I would love to ask Jim Nill and Pete DeBoer if you're going to do this, why the reluctance then to put Pouliot in instead? And if this was the case, how did you not recognize it and maybe you keep Joel Hanley and risk
Again,
losing someone
hindsight
else?
2020,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah.
And look, they're talking about it. They know. But and again, do you want to take someone and just drop them off in the deep end of the pool right away?
I kind of do at
And
this
again,
point.
this is, you're also trying not to have a young player come in here, get exposed, because everything's different. It's the big boys are playing now, and they're flying. And so, and it's not like it's a first overall pick that, you know what I mean? So they're not dumb guys. They know their players. They know who can be plunked in if need be, because none of these guys that you're talking about, to my knowledge, were brought up in the last 10 to 15 games of the year just to see what would happen. And I don't know if were even there, were they eligible, and all this other kind of stuff for the rules go. But, I think Hanley and Lundqvist were the only two guys they tinkered with back and forth to see could they be, that 6 and that 7 or whatever. So maybe it's a lesson for everybody. And, maybe, again, hindsight. I mean, should we have tried to bring in 2-3 defensemen? And should the worst case scenario happen, this guy got a little taste of this, got 3 games under it, 4 games under it, and my thing is, and again, they're going down the wire. They're trying to finish first overall. And you can understand that. So, they had that on the line because that's important too. But I mean, is it, my opinion, maybe you have to bring a player or 2 or 3 up. And first off, give them a taste. Look at your schedule. Are we playing San Jose, or are we playing Edmonton or Colorado?
Right.
And if it were me, I'd say let's try to find both. And let's bring them in against a San Jose team or an Anaheim team that's at the bottom of the league and maybe not as much seed, but then make sure you're bringing them in against a team that you could potentially be playing in the playoffs that's got speed. And let's see how he does. Let's give him a taste. And, obviously that didn't happen. But again, so much of this is easy to think about right now. And then but again, that's what your job is to, look into the crystal ball, so to speak.
From a player's perspective, I want to talk about momentum because Star's doing a really good job. I thought the forecheck was very effective in the first period. Had a lot of the Colorado forwards and defensemen a little bit on their heels, making them work so they weren't as effective as far as quick zone exits, and almost had a 4th goal. Great play by the defenseman Manson, who's a really good defenseman. And then they go into the locker room. You're up by 3. Maybe should have been 4, but regardless, all the momentum's coming your way. Do you think it was the penalties? And as players, how do you prevent that from happening, knowing what you saw in the first period and how effective you were to all of a sudden going away from that game? And then, kind of bringing it back, you played better in overtime, but, there was just an absence for a long period of time, which you allowed Colorado to get back in the game.
Well, I mean, it comes down to your leadership group, and that period's over. It's over with. We got to reset, and you're going to get a little bit better from this team. And teams that go 7 games and have 2 days off and playing in the game 2 days later, day and a half later, whatever it may be, or versus the team that's got 5-6 days off and can only play against each other. It's always that, which one's better? Which one would you rather have? Ideally, you'd rather have finish it in 6 games and get a little rest and, stay as close to, game tempo. And you would think, well, you're not going to lose your game tempo. Well, there is. It's hard to replicate it. And it's rest versus, what you do. So anyway, I just think that has to be a mindset in the room, and your opponent, what they're capable of. And it's got to be a conversation that happens after every single period. And this is the playoffs. That's what you have to do. You have to keep everybody engaged, and we know they've got more, or this, or that. You have to talk about those things. And again, I'm sure they did. But to get over the second and third period, to get outshot something like 17-7, in the last two periods. It's for a team that has the ability to win a Stanley Cup. It's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Just plain and simple. And that's conversations they're going to have, but they have to, it's on the players in the room. Now, that being said, the layoff for Colorado, like I said, it's not easy to step in and go full throttle. Okay, so Florida and Boston play. Florida was all over Boston in the first period, and their game won. Florida had 7-8 days off, right? So they win their series and, 4 or 5 games, whatever it is. They got plenty of time off, probably too much time, a lot of coaches would say. Boston, they're kind of riding the high, and they're just plugging along. Next thing you know, they're up by 2-3 goals. So it happens a different way, but you have to, on either side of the fence, you have to be prepared. So, I mean, again, if somebody knew how to fix it, it'd have been fixed a long time ago, how to get players to get to that point. But I just think that they got a little too comfortable at the end of the first period. And they've had some games against Colorado where they've had their way with them. And you're like, oh, yeah, here's another game. We're going to roll here. We're going to put up 6-7 goals. And if you go back and you look, I'm not sure what game it was, but Georgiev was awful against Winnipeg. And he let in, I mean, it might have been the first one. It might have been I think there was a 7-6 game or something like that.
7-6 game one.
In the fact, playoffs.
Yeah, Winnipeg was up by 3 in that game, and Colorado came storming back.
So now maybe that's in their mind. Oh, he's going to let in. But if you really go back and look at the whole series, this guy kept getting better and better and better. And he played like the second or third most games in the year. And it's kind of been a pattern with him is what I had understand. I don't watch all their games, obviously, but he gets stronger and he gets stronger. And it's exactly what he did is they came in and those players know the history and what they've gone through with the year. And I almost even expected to them coming out and have a different goaltender, but they don't have another guy to go to.
No.
So this is the guy you're getting.
Yeah.
So, but, and the players know it. But then again, what do we say about the playoffs? It comes down to goaltending and special teams.
Yeah.
Like should Jake to my knowledge and from what I could tell, there was nobody in front of Jake on the Mahar goal or Makar's, right? Yeah. Makar's goal.
Yep.
That's a save he has to make.
Yeah. He needs to be better.
I think. And again, Makar's done it against everybody. He's an elite guy, but that's a wrist shot from 70 feet.
Yeah. 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 So, and like you said, Craig, you need to know the players as well. I mean, I love Craig Smith's aggressiveness. I love that when he's on the ice. I love that he shoots the puck. But when you're trailing Cale Makar coming out of the zone, you cannot get that penalty. It's Cale Makar. You're not going to stop him. So I just felt as though that penalty was kind of needless. If you want to harass him, cool. But yeah,
Yeah, but again, you praised him last round.
Oh,
now you're giving him shit this round. It's who he is.
Yeah.
That's how we play. Yeah, it's again. Hindsight is always what it is, and it's easy to look back, but it's a guy that competes, and that's a player. Like to me, you look at Makar, obviously McKinnon, and you make it difficult on those two guys for the next six games that you got to play, or 5 or whatever it is.
Yeah,
and obviously within the rules, but and the other thing is, if you really go back and you look at McKinnon's goal. Nobody wanted to talk about it. I waited to be able to somebody to say it. But that play to me was made by Rantanen. In front of the net, when that rebound comes out, Thomas Harley is the defenseman on that side. And the puck kind of bounces off of a rebound and it bounces over McKinnon's way, but it goes right. Basically, Rantanen was standing right there. Rantanen doesn't try to play the puck. He knows where McKinnon is. And what he does, he takes his stick and he puts it on the shaft of Thomas Harley. Thomas Harley was trying to sweep at the puck and probably could have gotten to that puck with his stick, but Rantanen takes it and stops the motion of Thomas Harley's stick. And so it just stopped dead, which allowed the puck to end up on McKinnon's, tape, and he puts it in the net. So those are little things that you see in a game and you're like, yeah. And the other thing that happened on the play, and speaking of Makar, Pavs got danced at the top of the circle, and so it comes in and where Makar should have been kept to the outside, as he enters the zone and let him come in on the outside. Don't let him get to the middle of the ice, take a shot, create a rebound or a better rebound. Joe tries to stand up at him right at the top of the circle. Makar dances like he does. Again, he's done it to the best players in the game.
Yeah,
So
he's unreal.
But to me, you take a little slower route, and a guy like that, I want him on the perimeter of the ice at all times if I can, because he's super dangerous. And it's not, I mean, it's easier to say than do, but those are the little tiny things that I see that, get people to where they don't want to be. Yeah. And so anyway, there's a little breakdowns in all these little games that if you stare at things long enough, you'll find them. And again, it's easy to say when it's all over with, 24 hours later.
A quick one, Craig. One little thing that I noticed: first penalty of the game, high stick on Jason Robertson. Robertson goes down. It was clearly a high stick, but a lot of the Colorado players were talking to the referee and basically getting on Jason Robertson for a little bit of an embellishment. As a former player, when you're saying to the referee, come on, he's selling that. Does that pay forward as far as late in the game when Roope Hintz gets the embellishment call?
I was a good job. That's exactly what happens.
Thank you.
But again, they all do it on both teams.
Yeah.
In the league, they all throw their heads back as soon as they think they're touched. And it's we sit up there in the suite and, it's us old guys. And we're like, Jesus, like, just play the game, play through it. Yes, I don't like it, but everybody does it. And, and again, it happens. And so I think that because when that happened to Robo and there's a penalty called, well, then Hintz gets away with it. But you know what the referee said? No. You know what? Because they go in the room and they can watch their replays. They can watch what happened. They can watch their calls. So, and if they got it, they say, okay, we got a couple teams out here, a couple players out here that are, doing this and that. And so I actually think Roope did get tripped. I thought that his right leg got kind of lifted or tied up. And I don't think that the defenseman did anything wrong. But he played him the right way. His stick was out. He was trying not to hook and hold, but I thought he did. I didn't think he embellished as much as is what, you could, maybe he was starting to fall. His right leg got lifted up and he thought, well, shit, I'll just, maybe I can draw one here. But again, it goes back to what happened prior to that. And a referee standing there going, nope, I'm not getting fooled on this one. I'm going to nip this one in the bud. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened.
Yeah. Okay, Coach. Now we switch to Coach Ludwig. What adjustments would you like to see for Game 2 on Thursday night?
You know what? I don't look at this as being a bunch of adjustments right now. I think the lines are what the lines are. I would try to play Sagi more. I think Tyler's going. I really do. I would probably get Tyler up in the top 6. I think but again, I typically what you do is I don't know if all coaches do it, but you look at, twos. And so you take 2 of your 3 forwards. And then that's what I was saying in the last series. Like you have your 2 guys that that are good together, like Roope and Robo. They're good together. So now what you do is you try to find somebody that can complement him, which is good with Stankoven, because he's a puck hound. He's going to be the guy that's going to go in there and dig pucks out and get pucks to the net. And I just think that Tyler's got a little more jump right now than probably Joe does. Well, he always has. That Joe's never been a speedster, but maybe you could put Tyler up there with Jamie and Wyatt, and then maybe that just flip flop Joe and Sagi. I don't know. Funny, I didn't see Radek. I don't know what his injury was, but he's not taking any faceoffs. It doesn't look like. So I don't know if he's got a hand injury. So you're probably keeping those 3 together, and then maybe it's just Adonov and Duchesne and Pavs. But I don't know. This game 1, and they found a way. The last one they made little tweaks, and so. But that's part of it. I just think for Dallas, like this is a different team that you're playing against. They're not as structured a group as Vegas is. So, but I still think they need to shoot the puck and get pucks to the net. Their decor, my opinion, that's not a huge strength of of Colorado's is their decor, not like it was of Vegas. Yes, they got Makar's obviously elite. I mean, he doesn't really he defends with the puck.
Yeah,
but Taze is a good defenseman.
Yep.
Gerard is a dancer.
Yeah, Sean Walker.
The Walker kid that they just picked up, I think, from Philly. Yeah, he's a good, solid defenseman. But Jack Johnson is a little slow. Josh Manson is he's a heavy guy.
Yep.
They don't have an elite. They don't have an elite guy, defenseman besides Makar, but he's that offensive guy. You know what I mean, Sam? So they need to get pucks low and then outwork this decor. That's what I think. I think they can beat them to the front of the net. And they can outmuscle them at the front of the net. Besides Manson and Taze, and Johnson is that kind of guy, but sometimes he's a little bit slower getting back to the net. But he's a solid defenseman. But that's, to me, as a group, the team, that's their weakness. And obviously the goalie can let in a couple more. But again, it seems to be even right now with the goalies after one game. So
does it bother you as a guy who, you're going to deny this, but helped grow this great game here in DFW with you and your teammates and how influential you guys were in raising the cup in 99? Does it bother you that the kids can't watch these games because it's so late? I mean, we're talking about we're in overtime and it's 11:40 at night?
What are you going to do about it? You're going to keep crying?
I am.
You can't. TV dictates it.
I know. We'll put the East Coast 30 minutes earlier. Put it 30 minutes earlier.
Just have another fucking Red Bull. It's easy. Put it in your vodka, Tinkerbell. You'll stay up. You'll be good.
About me, Craig. This is about the kids, not about me.
Well, the kids. What kids are you worried about? Are you talking about the 12-year-olds?
I'm talking about the next generation that they get to watch overtime hockey and not, they have to go to bed because it's a school night.
By the way, do you know what the new generation is called? You know how there's the baby boomers and I don't know what they're called. Do you know what this generation's called?
No, what are they called?
Hang on tight.
Yeah.
The alphas. Are you serious? So are you worried about the alphas? Or the Gen X or Gen Zers? Which ones are you worried about?
I'm just saying. I personally,
yeah, but you can't do nothing about it.
I know, and I know how it falls in the East Coast games and everything. I mean, heck, if you advance, you're going to get it next round too. At least next round, you're in the finals, so it's going to be off days, so it probably won't be as bad. You will get some.
Well, then what you ought to do is you ought to call Mr. Ghilardi and ask him to move the team to Florida if you're crying about it. And you'll get on Eastern time and you get your games at 7:00 at night.
Sometimes when I'm preparing for this show, I'm like, will Craig come back at me with this? Will he come back at me with this?
I just think it's a total waste of time to complain about it and bring it. You can bring it up all you want. It's not going to change. I mean, until you want to get into a different time zone. So it is what it is. And the game seems to be in Gary Bettman and Daly are, they've turned it into a $4 or $5 billion sport or NHL, and things are rolling along. And I don't know. It's just, you know what? The players don't complain about it. It's a waste of time for them to complain about it.
Yeah.
So get to the finals. When you get to the finals, you'll be happy because then everything will be at around 6 or 7 o'clock at night, right? Then you'll be complaining because you can't get home.
It's not me
in time because of rush hour.
Kids, that's what I was talking about. It was the kids. Although Craig has brought up throughout the year on this podcast about the Colorado altitude, and that's what I'm worried about as far as that 5 defensemen when it comes to the altitude on Saturday
100%.
night.
Yeah. That. Oh no, you bet. And remember last time. I think what was the series 2-1 or something or 3? I don't know what it was. And I said that was a must game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you that you have to approach this as a group. You have to approach this as a must game. Tomorrow's game is a must win game. And I know it's not, but that's the mentality you have to have because you want to go in there and every team's played in college. They know what they're getting into, but there's a bit of an advantage. There's no question about it. For the home team there. And so if there's that advantage, can you kind of feel that maybe they can take one of their games at home. I'm talking about the Avs can win one game at home. That's why I think tomorrow is a must game. In this particular round against this particular team. But again, they found ways to, claw back in and win a series in overtime. And so it doesn't mean that you're dead in the water. They've proven it last series, but little different, little more dynamic team you're playing against. You're not playing against a team that, came into the series and guys hadn't played yet and, all that kind of stuff. They don't have the elite players in the game. I mean, you got a guy that's a Hart Trophy guy, possibly. You've got a Norris guy. You got some. Rantanen is just Rantanen. I think because of the other two, just is so underrated. And you got a former Dallas Star that's on a roll. And if there's a guy that's motivated to, ram it to the Dallas Stars, and if you watched the game where Val got the hat trick, you can see how much that team loves that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and for everything that he's gone through off the ice, made his way back, I think he's an important piece to that group. And I'm talking personally. And I think they appreciate what Val's had to go through. And they know that this series would be very important for him to come out the other side. And so I think there's some extra motivation in that locker room. So, but that's neither here nor there. This is Dallas's, they've got the motivation. We know that.
They got the Duchesne, they got
they know they have to play a lot better. And they have to play 60 minutes. I mean, it's the old cliche. You can't play 50 minutes, when you're in the playoffs. You got to play the whole game.
Right.
And if it takes, if it takes 70 or 80, that's what you got to do.
Yep. If you're wondering, Craig is listed on IMDb, which is a movie site where actors go. Craig Ludwig is there. Yep, it's true. This is the stuff you're getting on Spits and Suds. And the credits underneath. Known for 1986 Stanley Cup Finals and 1989 Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah, let's not talk about that one.
Yeah. And it doesn't say on the 1999 Stanley Cup Finals. So, but
I think they thought I died.
Yeah,
back in the early 90s.
But you are listed on.
That.
Yeah, you're listed on IMDb, and now the credit will be Secret of Bog Lake. So check it out, everybody. It is written and directed by Steven Gustafson.
I thought it was Scorsese.
You got to start somewhere, Craig.
Yeah, and I started right at the bottom. Got to work your way up, they say.
All right, Craig's got to go, but we always appreciate his time. Amazing insight, as always. And we will talk to you after Thursday night's game right here on Spits and Suds. Have a great day, everyone.